Welcome back, everybody, to another Pickled Dragon Unscripted. We have the amazing Dracoya of Dracoya Minis with us, hydrating after a
The
long.
dehydrated, party too hard Dracoya from Dracoya Minis. This
Yes,
is your warning to hydrate. If you're watching this, get a glass of water.
it's important to hydrate while you drink with more than just the drink.
I know, I know.
All right, so we have a really cool topic for you today. Um,
I
I've
like
shown this magazine off once before, and in it we talked about, uh, we had talked about the introduction to Dungeons and Dragons, and then we realized there was another article in there that was pretty awesome, and so we were revisiting this issue of Campaign magazine, and it's like this one issue has like it's so much cultural hugeness. I don't know what the word is. It's just like it's overpowering me now. But this one issue has like cultural phenomenon written all over it. And that is because this issue came out when Star Wars came out. And one of the writers, one Linda Rader,
a woman.
a lady,
What?
she went and saw Star Wars and wrote a movie review for it, which when I read it, I think it's very cool for a number of reasons, which we'll get into. But I'm going to just show you guys the article here. There she is, right there in all of its glory. Star Wars, may the force be with you. Yes. Um, so she gives a nice summary of the action, right?
Hmm.
Where she talks about
It talks
basically the
about the
highlights of the
opening scene, and
yeah.
then yes, the highlights of the movie. She touches base on a lot of the main characters and kind of like the sequence of events that happen in the first half of the movie without spoiling the movie itself.
And the biggest reason I found this article to be so interesting is because of what's going on today with the culture war. There's so much vitriol around Star Wars and their fans and what Disney has done with Star Wars. Uh, and in regards to the culture war, there's definitely uh this victim mentality out there where uh where you are given all of this attention and acclaim for the most for all the worst things that have happened in your life, or not even necessarily in your life, but people in your demographic maybe. And when I read this article about, and clearly somebody who's blown away by Star Wars, um, it just struck me how things have changed over the years. But there's a number of other things that like Jacoya was gonna talk about as well in regards to the amazing uh again cultural phenomenon that it became. But
Well, one of the things that I really liked about this article, just so you guys know, I've started reading Dune. I saw the first couple of movies, liked the first one a lot. Definitely felt like there was a lot going on that I didn't grasp because I had not first read the book. And then I saw the second one and I was like, ooh, really loved the second movie. Super great movie. If you guys haven't seen it, go see it. Super awesome. And then I was like, yeah, no, there's definitely like this journey was enjoyable enough to where I need to know all the things that were left out of the movies. So I have read the first Dune and now I'm reading the second one. And so far I really like the second one too. But in this article, she talks about Star Wars specifically and how they draw a lot of inspiration from Dune. And she mentions this in at least two different places. One of the first places she talks about is in the first desert scene that you have. You have a giant skeleton of what looks like a sandworm. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's such a cute homage to Dune," because at the time a lot of these things were happening around the same time. That era was such a great era for like cult sci-fi, right, Matt?
Yeah, yeah. And she mentions, like obviously there's inspiration from Star Trek, Flash Gordon, 2001 Space Odyssey. And but she points out that while there is influence there is inspiration there. She writes, yet it is decidedly different from any other kind of science fiction movie, and repercussions will be seen for years to come. Like she's like saw this movie and was like, this movie is important. And obviously she predicted well. I mean, Star Wars has stood the test of time to the point today where people are battling, just absolutely battling over the fandom, what Disney's done with it. And of course, there are the people on the other side who are vilifying fans. And it's crazy that from a movie we could end up with a current day cultural battlefield.
It is really cool. And one thing that, Matt, you and I were talking about earlier is like, yes, the writer of this article was a woman. And Matt said, "Oh, you should bring that up." And I'm like, "Well, Matt, she was probably just doing her job." And he brought up a great point. He's like, "Yeah, she probably was. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. But when you read the article itself, it was clearly written with passion and care. So it doesn't really matter if she was doing her job. She clearly did enjoy the movie." She has a paragraph where she talks about Princess Leia as well. And by the way, on that note of cultural war, Matt, Disney right now, what they're doing is they're trying to give this huge push so that they can target the female demographic. But why do they need to do that? Like Princess Leia was amazing. She was powerful, she was beautiful, she was smart, she was witty, she was definitely like no nonsense, you're not going to mess with me type of a woman. She was the best princess of all time. She's like on like a couple of my favorite workout shirts. My favorite workout shirt literally has her with a gun and it says "Don't call me princess." Ah, so good.
She also talks about how you know these these heroes, and I think you were gonna touch on this about the way in which these heroes were undaunted in the face of such a monumental enemy.
One of the things that I really liked about this article, here we go. The viewer believes and cheers on the characters even in the most implausible situations because the characters believe in themselves. When Luke Skywalker aims his sights on the vulnerable center of the Death Star satellite, he knows that what all wargamers already know, that one individual applying his own ability to a situation can change the course of history.
That's pretty cool. That's like, again, like in terms of the culture war today, like that is the antithesis of that victim mentality. And that's what really got me thinking about it, like and what Star Wars really embodied at the time, that people saw this movie and it was more, science fiction. And she writes that, like science fiction movies have been that were kind of relegated to the back seat of Hollywood because they just weren't important at the time. And Star Wars turned all of that around, because it was more than just a science fiction story. There was that human element behind it where all of these characters were well developed and really became beloved. Again, I love the history of things. So when I found
Well,
a reaction to the first Star Wars film, from that day, I just thought it was amazing.
Well, one thing that I also want to touch base on is the amount of visual effects that they talk about in
Oh
this.
yeah,
That they mentioned this in the article. It was 320 effects, Matt. I think that's what it
360.
was.
Yeah,
360.
360.
But the reason that I really appreciate and still appreciate it's appreciated and still appreciate Star Wars and also movies like Lord of the Rings is because of the way that they were using their effects. You know, they were trying to, well, at the time they weren't trying with Star Wars because it was so limited. If anything, these new effects where they've got the lightsabers and everything, like that was new. This was not something that had really been done before. But the effects that they were using were so practical that they age really well in a lot of ways. And I wish more and more movies would go back to that. You know, I think that a lot of directors, and I'm sure one of our viewers will correct me and inform me on all the things that I don't know, and I'm looking forward to it. But I think one of the things that makes a really great movie great nowadays is these practical effects. And a lot of directors, like when they have a ghost that's supposed to be moving things from one end of the room to the other, instead of doing the whole trick with the string and you move stuff back and forth, they just start adding in a lot of like CGI stuff because it's quicker, it's faster, it's easier for them. But what they don't realize is how quickly that's going to age this piece of art that they have worked so hard on. And that's one thing I really loved about Star Wars at the time. And to give you guys some comparison, the second generation Star Wars films, they did I think 2200 effects per movie. So that gives you an idea of the vast difference and of the effects from the first trilogy to the second. Ah, such a good film series. I love that. I think we'll probably be talking a little bit more. I didn't realize this, guys, but I am a huge Star Wars nerd, and yeah, I think we have more things to discuss.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think this is really incredible. Hope you guys enjoyed it too. Please do comment, like, and subscribe, share the video, check out our store, all that good stuff.
Hydrate.
Hydrate. Orcs against orcs with X.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
this, all the good stuff. And of
Bye.
course, come on back and have another round on us.